Well, everyone, just received my 5,800th subscriber. Sweet. So with 1,186 videos, well 87 now, today you're going to get a big Mythbuster video on the Pokies species. It's awesome, but I do have some news for you. I just ordered another 2 Ts from Mac and Cass. That's the lovely transaction that I got from them. If you remember the A. Anax, the C. elegans, and the P. rufilata. Well, I decided to go ahead and collect some of the tappies, the Platnick species. As you know, I only have 9 gigas in my collection, so I thought I should get more. So I'm getting Platnick. Well, you know what? I won't even tell you. You're gonna wait till Wednesday to see what they are. And one of them is really ultra rare, and it's female. So can't wait to see it. Other news, I'm going to be transferring all the 3 remaining gigas tomorrow. Just wanted to let you know that spend $15 getting those deli containers, those tall ones, the 32-ounce ones, which you see right here. So I got this from the bulks grocery store that sells them in bulks, like from the restaurants. So this costs around $12 and $3 for the covers, and I think I have, like 30 different at least in there. So it's pretty good for your arboreals, at least most of them anyway. Alright, so allow me to wet your taste buds. So this is how we're going to set up this Mythbuster video. It's going to be anything different than the ones that I've been used to making. So I'm going to talk about the Pokies in the hobby, the ones that are currently available. Okay, that was my 8 Urticans drumming, if you guys heard that. Okay, so yeah, there's about 12 of them, I think, in the hobby. I am the owner of at least 12 or 13 of them. I'm just only missing one Pokie in my collection, then having to complete one. Then I'm going to talk about the detailed video on the appearances of all these Pokies in the hobby. I'm going to talk about their differentiation of the carapace, the leg patterns, show you some pictures and my specimens. Then I'm going to talk about dorsal sexing, how it's not really an accurate way to do sex or tease, recommendations, and I guess cost, stuff like that. And then the brief care and temperament. I'm not going to go on to do too much detail on the care sheets. They're pretty much keep them like your P. regalis, except in some cases like P. bara and P. rufilata that likes slightly cooler conditions. So like in the upper 70s, low 80s, like really low 80s. That's when they're happiest. So this is according to Norman I. Platnick. This is the author of the World Spider Catalogue that I'm going to be posting up on the video description. So he lists 16, or at least should be 17 different Pokies. So let's get started. So we have bara, which is also known as P. suffusca lowland. I believe they changed it because people get confused with the highland and the lowland form, so I'll show you that there is a really big difference between those two species, namely in color and on the region too. So fasciata comes from Sri Lanka. Almost all the Pokies either come from Sri Lanka or India. So they're old world terrestrials, no sorry, arboreals, so you do know that they're going to have a lot of potent venom. They're going to be very fast, and they can be very defensive. Okay, we have Formosa from India. Hanumila Vila Sumika. This is the one that I haven't received in my collection. I believe there's only 3 left in Canada from the original 5 of them. I think 2 of them passed away. Metallica from India. P. miranda. Here's one that's not currently in the hobby. It's Nala malayensis from India. Ornata from Sri Lanka. Patersoni from Sri Lanka. Regalis, India. Rufilata. Smithi, striata. Safasca Highland. Wessel, and the uniformis. Since Pokies species are very widely collected. It is also, like the brachypelmas, in the endangered species list under the CITES program. So that means that we cannot get any more wild-caught specimens. If you are, then you're going to be in big trouble. Okay, so I'll describe to you the ones that are not available in the hobby. So you can see this one here, the Arachnoboards vila sumica. It's very rare. Like I said, there was only 5 in Canada, so it's not likely that we get them in stock. The Nala malaliensis, that's not in the hobby, and uniformis. So you could just look those up on the Google. I think you'll see some information about the uniformis and the Arachnoboards vila sumica, but not very much on the Nala malaliensis. So I'm just going to cover the ones that are available in the hobby to save you time and effort. Okay, so now let's start off with the first one, Pokies bara, which is the P. sylvesca lowland. Okay, so let's go on to having a look at my specimen here. So this is Charmaine. This is my Pokies bara. This is a 5.5 inch female lowland ivory ornamental. So I'm just going to prod her just to have a good look at her and see how well she is. She's definitely my best tempered Pokie. Okay, there we go. So, as one can see, it is a very strikingly different Pokie than your P. regalis. So, specimens are pretty rare in the Canadian hobby. In dealers, we see them for around $105 to $120 for a well-started half-inch spiderling. And they're pretty easy to take care of. You keep them arboreal, 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. They like it slightly cooler than most Pokies, but you know, like I say, it's a great temperament, this one. It's actually one of my more calmer of the pokes. Then again, I really don't stress you handling them because personalities do vary between individuals, just like your G. rosea. You can have one that is completely docile, and then you can have one that's really aggressive. So that's what one looks like. So that's pretty much how you distinguish it. It's very distinguishable, so you don't really need to see all the leg patterns to appreciate this beauty. So I'll show you what they look like, if you didn't see my specimen well enough. Okay. So this is a mature male. You can tell it's very drabby colored. And this is what a female looks like. Exactly like Charmaine, except hers is a little bit more darker, but not that much. That's what a juvenile female looks like. Alright, now for the P. sylvesca highland, to contrast it. Alright, so the lowland was that one, so now we're looking at the highland form. As you can see, it looks really the same, pretty much. You can see the black coloration with the yellow tip legs, giving it the ivory appearance. And yeah, that's what she looks like. This is Candy. This is the Candy Highland Ornamental. This one is slightly more common than the lowland form. I remember getting this one as a half an inch for $105 at Tarantula, Canada. Now she's at least a good 2 inches, and that was about, I think, close to a year now. Yeah, it's actually been a year since I owned this one. So, if you can distinguish between the lowland and the highland, it's just the color differences in the carapace and the other overall color. So I did show you that this is the lowland form, so this is what the highland form would look like. The highland, where is it? There we go. You can see that the carapace is much more darker colored, and so is the abdomen colors than the lowland form. This what makes it really strikingly beautiful, and I believe that's why people got so confused with the sylvescas, and they really distinguished it by giving a different species to the lowland, calling it bara, and calling this one the sylvesca lowland. So that's really the only strikingly difference, also because that the lowland comes from a little slightly warmer regions, and the highland likes to get it slightly cooler. As you can see, I'm keeping it, like I said, 80 degrees, 82 degrees during the day, and then 77 at night, and no deaths from this one. So temperament of these ones are slightly little more defensive than the lowland. I think I got like 1 or 2 threat postures since I owned it, but typically it's not very bad compared to the P. ornata or the P. fasciata that I'll describe in a bit. Oh, I did forget to mention that the highland and the lowland get a respectable 7 to 8 inches in leg span. Now we're going to visit an old friend and talk about the P. regalis. It's pretty much old hat to you guys. You probably know what P. regalis looks like. I did cover this in my Tarantula Mythbuster video 3, which was very early. But I'm just going to give you an overall appearance of the P. regalis, what one looks like. Like I said in the Mythbuster video, they're one of the cheapest and one of the most readily available. Adult females will tend to run you into the $150 to $175 range. Over 200 I would not pay for one. So this one here is Zelda. This is what my P. regalis female looks like. So the only characteristic that you'll see on a regalis, it is the only Pokie to have this, is the clear abdomen band. Now, unfortunately, you don't see it on Zelda because she's not in a good position. Well, there you go. You can definitely see the belt on it. So, it is one of the species that has the yellow warning legs. I did forget to mention that the Pokies safasca, both forms, do not have this. So overall, it is a 7 to 8 inch T with strikingly nice white and black markings with the yellow warning legs. My specimen seems to be pretty gentle. Then again, personality do vary. I have another one, Pandora, who is a little bit smaller one, tends to be a little more nervous of the two. Okay, now comparing to my other P. regalis, this is Pandora. She is a little smaller female, measures around 6.5 to 7 inches. And you can definitely tell the clear abdomen band. You can pretty much see it, and it's so obvious to tell that it's a regalis. Only the regalis has this, nothing else. And that's what she looks like. We give it a good update on her. She's fat from all these superworms, but again, she's very happy and very healthy. Pokies tend to show more burrowing tendencies than their arboreals, so you just might want to keep it a little bit more substrate in there, just so it could burrow and do whatever they want. But it's a very happy P. regalis. Okay, so both safascas are covered, and now the regalis. So now we're going to talk about next is the Pokies fasciata, which is called the Sri Lankan ornamental. Like the regalis, they attain the 7 to 8 inch leg span. They pretty much have the very same colors as the P. regalis, except they have very slightly different markings on both the abdomen and the carapace, and as well as the pairs of legs. So let's have a look at mine, and we'll see what he's up to. Alright, so this is my P. fasciata, Sri Lankan ornamental, and looks like, yeah, it molted. Probably very freshly though. So I believe this is to be a 2.5 inch male. Just because of its colors, you're going to see in a bit of how I determine this to be. Unless it's a female, that would be really awesome. So, since I don't have a mature specimen to compare with to you, I'm going to go ahead and go to the carapace patterns. Okay, so I found it. Okay, so this is what it is. Pokies species carapace identification. So it is apparent that Safasca really has completely different markings as the abdomen patterns, so it makes it very distinguishable, and also, as I explained to you, that the colors very differ from the regalis, is that they're much more black, so we call it the black Pokie. Then the rufilata, which I'll describe to you later on in the video, is another characteristic pattern here. And now here we go. These are the difference. Oh, again, this is the Metallica, the Miranda, and the Hanma Villa Simica. They have the same carapace patterns. And here we go. Right here. Formosa, regalis, and striata have the same pattern. And if you notice that there's not as black as the other one, so this will tell you that it is either P. fasciata, P. smithi, P. ornata, or P. patersoni. Okay. Now, if you want to go to the leg patterns, oh sorry, which one is it? It's the PDF one. There we go. Okay, so here is the fasciata. Where is the fasciata? Yeah, fasciata right here. You can see the warning legs. Notice that it has a very thin band right over here compared to the P. regalis, which has a much more wider band. So that's your ticket right on here. That's the fasciata. That's the res regalis. Alright, so a little more info about the P. fasciata. They can attain a 7 to 8 inch leg span, very similar to the regalis, and can be kept in the same way. The only slightly difference in temperament is that they're said to be the more defensive of the Pokies, and which is actually true. From experience, this P. fasciata has thrown more threat displays at me than any of my other Pokies combined. So it's not a good handling Pokie. I would never recommend handling Pokies anyway because of their potent venom. So that's what he looks like, and hopefully my mature male that I loaned to TC back last year will give me some nice babies. Alright, next Pokie to describe to you is a Pokies formosa. This is commonly called the Salem ornamental, that can attain a 6 to 7 inch leg span. It is a very distinguishable, beautiful Pokie with subdued beige color. Sometimes in freshly molted specimens you can actually see purple highlights on the carapace, which is why they sometimes like to call it the purple Pokie. If you can probably see on mine, which it's really a bad angle. So unlike P. regalis, it is one that does not have the yellow warning legs, as you see right over here. Pretty much like what you're going to see for Pokies patersoni. And they have the same carapace as the P. regalis. As well, P. formosas are somewhat uncommon in the collection. Half-inch spiderlings can go as much as $55, and a mature female such as this specimen here will cost you around $150 at an online dealer. So I'll show you the leg patterns just to show it to you. Alright, so P. formosa, right over here you can see, compared to regalis, nothing. And if you want to see that on the individual specimens, you can see right here. So let's go up. See fasciata. There's no yellow. Oh no, there's not a clear abdomen band. Here's formosa, which you just saw. Female. Metallica is obviously very blue, so really no need to explain about that one too much. Miranda has no leg patterns. Ornata has some right over here. Patersoni has not. Here's regalis. See the abdomen band here? Very characteristic. Rufilata has some here, except it has slightly purple on this side. Smithi doesn't have it, just like the P. patersoni. And P. striata does have. And P. cephasca doesn't. And this is here the uniformis, which is the bleached specimen, so we do not know what it actually looks like, but it's very similar looking to the P. regalis if you probably want to compare it. Alright, next Pokie here I have is a Pokies metallica, commonly called the Goody Sapphire Ornamental. It is a rare yet a very expensive Pokie that can attain a 6 to 7 inch leg span. As you could tell, both carapace patterns and the abdominal patterns differ from the P. regalis, also their colors. As you can see, it's the blue Pokie. Because it's a blue Pokie, it is in very high demand, and that little people tend to breed these or get successful sacks from these, so the prices are very high. So slings around this size will probably cost around maybe 200 to 250, at least for like a 3-inch female. But if you're going to get an adult female, you're probably looking into over $500 per one. Temperament of these guys is said to be a little more skittish than most Pokies. These are photosensitive species that really hate light. Whenever I shine light at my specimen, she tends to run away, or wherever I pick it up, she decides to take off. But now, hold on for a second, John. Why is my Pokie metallica not as blue as yours? Well, it's just the lighting issues. You've probably seen on Google Images, you'll see a lot of P. metallicas are really strikingly blue, and when you look at the specimen in person, it is not as blue as you think it would be. Well, that's because that the cameras use flash, and the flash really gives it the blue appearance to them. Even though it looks blue or purple, as in the case may be, if you do shine light on them, you do see the blue come out very strikingly. And yeah, that's it. Cool, so that takes care of the metallica. Now we're going on to the miranda. Okay, so here is my Pocothera miranda. This is commonly called the Bengal spotted ornamental from India. These can attain a 7 to 8 inch leg span. As you can see, it's very different than your Pokie regalis. Is that the carapace patterns and the abdominal patterns are very different. So as well as the color too. Spiderlings will tend to go around $60, and if you want to buy a mature female about this size, you're probably looking around the $200 range. It is slightly more uncommon than most of the Pokies, but it's a very beautiful Pokie. Definitely one of my favorites after the P. cephusca and the P. metallica. Overall temperament of these guys are kind of on the mellow side. Then again, personalities do vary. So this is Miranda. I got her back in 2009. About 2 years as a 1.5 inch spiderling. And she is very big. She is probably around 5.5 inches right now. And just like the P. formosa, you will not expect these ones to have the yellow undersides of the legs. She's pretty gentle. Now, next one is the Pocotheria ornata, the fringed ornamental. So it differs from the regalis, of course, because of its colors. You can plainly see that the juvenile has green legs covered with red hairs, commonly mistakenly for a rufilata, but as they mature, they get like a subdued brown-yellow color to them. So ornatas happen to be one of the most defensive of the Pokies. I do not recommend handling them or even touching them. If you see Rob's video on his P. ornata bite, it's actually really quite serious that he had to be in the hospital for a couple of days. Ornatas have given me the most threat postures next to my P. fasciata. So their carapace patterns resemble most to the fasciata and the patersoni and the smithi. So the color differences really give it away. So it is, again, a Pokie that has the yellow warning legs and is supposedly one of the largest of the Pokies. They can attain a 9 to 10 inch leg span. So if you want to compare it to my mature female, Joelle, that I got from Snake Man for Life back in December or November. So you can definitely see the subdued brown color to them. Yeah, this is around a 7 inch female. Lost the pulp, but I'm not worried. She's fine and she's doing well. And you can note the yellow warning legs on them. And here's a little better video of her. Oh yes, I forgot to tell you, the fringed ornamental and the ornate ornamental is a common name given to this species. Possibly because of the fringed hairs that they have. And there's the eyes. It's a nice ornata. Alright, now we're going to talk about the Pokies patersoni, the ghost ornamental. Unfortunately, my specimen has gone into hiding, so we won't be able to see her very much. But this is what one looks like. It is very similar looking to the P. regalis. It's one of the newly described Pokies from Kirk, from Sri Lanka. So it looks very strikingly very similar to the P. regalis, except it has very minor subtleties in the front end, the dorsal side. You note that the carapace is very different. Like here, the patersoni is right here in the regalis. You can see over this area that it has more black to them compared to this one. And then the male, of course, is the dry beard colored one. So the real difference is the ventral shots, you'll see. Ventral shots, where is that? Yeah, so this is what a regalis looks like. And right here is the patersoni. No yellow warning legs. So that's how you tell them apart. So patersonis tend to be the more nervous of the Pokies. They can attain the same leg span as the regalis. In my opinion, I had a male that was very aggressive at times, but the one that I have is just very skittish. Also forgot to mention, patersonis are also common in the hobby. You can probably pay around the same price as a pure regalis for one. Alright, so patersoni's down, regalis is covered. Now it's rufilata, smithi, striata, and tigrina wesseli. Alright, now for the Pokies rufilata, the red slate ornamental. So I have two specimens right here. I have my 7-inch mature female and my now 2-inch sling. So this is Sephora, the one I got from Mac and Cass. Let's have a look at her. Oh, nice. I got another molt. Sweet. Where is she now? Wow. Yeah, it looks like 2.5 inches. At least. You could definitely tell the iridescent foot patterns. So, Pokies rufilata is one of the largest Pokies. It is commonly called the red slate ornamental because of its colors. It is a subdued green color with a lot of pink, orange, and green hairs. And I'll show you the specimen to show it to you. It is one of the largest Pokies, contending with Pokies ornata in size. They both can attain a 9 to 10 inch leg span. So I'm going to show you my mature female. Not full grown yet, but she's getting there. Bought her in 2008. And yeah, you can definitely tell the green colors and why they call it the red slate ornamental, because of its red hairs. Another very distinguishable Pokie, has different abdominal patterns and also very highly colored than the P. regalis. It also has the yellow warning legs. Slings generally go for around $45 to $55. An adult female will probably run you into the $200 to $300 range. My specimen seems to be very moody. Sometimes she'll be very aggressive, sometimes not. I have seen a couple threat postures from her, but she's somewhere in the middle. What really scares me about these P. rufilata is that they have black shades near the eyes. It gives it like an aggressive appearance to them. As you can see, it mistakenly looks like the ornata, but the abdominal patterns really give it away. that it's not a ornata. But I must say it's a very beautiful Pokie. And a must-have too. One of the largest. Covered the Pokies smithi, the yellow-backed ornamental. This is one of the rarest Pokies that you'll ever find. In Canada, these are the one and only 10 in Canada, and I'm happy to own one. So here's my specimen Allison, roughly around a inch and a half, 2 inches. She should expect to be molting very soon. I guess this is why she dug a lot of burrows and webs. So I've at least seen from what my Tigrina wesseli and my P. fasciata just did. But this is another Pokie that's very similar looking to the regalis. It attains a 7 to 8 inch leg span. Temperament is pretty much the same as your P. regalis. Mine seems to be fairly calm / nervous, but it's not very overly aggressive. So I really can't find great pictures on a smithi on Iraq or on Google Images, but this is the best picture that I could probably think of from a P. smithi. From Chris 4504. You can tell it why they call it the yellow back ornamental because of its yellow patterns on the legs and on the carapace. It has like a dirty blonde yellow color to them. Very rare in the hobby. I remember paying my sling for around $170. And if you want to buy a 5-inch female, I've seen it sell for $500. And if an adult female, you're probably looking at maybe close to $1,000. An expensive Pokie. You know, I'm really kicking myself for this. When I picked it up last year, I really should have bought 2 of them. Because I really want to start getting these in the hobby. Next time if I ever see a P. smithi and I find more than one, I'm going to buy 2 at least. Try to see if I can have a mating pair. But I think this one is a female, so that's a plus. Alright, now for Pokies striata, commonly called the Mysore ornamental. I have 2 specimens right here. This one may be a suspect female. It's kind of hiding. This one here is a male. And you can see he's desperate due for a house. This is actually why I bought these containers, because I have some Pokie rehousing to do. So this is another common one in the hobby. Slings go for the same price as the P. ornata, around $45 to $55. For 4-inch females, they'll probably run you into $130 at Arachnoboards. So this specimen looks exactly like P. regalis, except it has one major difference. You do have the yellow warning legs that you see on my specimen. You don't see the clear abdomen band on here. So, but really difference is the dorsal side. So it does come from India. So it looks like a very dirty regalis, except you see the carapace patterns, you have more black right here than the regalis. So we'll compare it to the regalis to show it to you. It's about female. See, that has a little triangle on top here. Striata has more roundish, and it's much more, the black area is much more pronounced. So this is the way to tell if you have a regalis from a striata. Again, 7 to 8 inch leg span, very similar looking and temperament to your P. regalis. Alright, last Pokie, everyone. So here is my Pokies Tigrina wesseli, the commonly called the Wessel Tiger Ornamental. It's another rare Pokie that it's not very commonly available on online dealers. I remember buying mine for around 1.5 inches for around $100, so I'm just trying to get it to come out a bit so you can see the patterns on the species. It looks very similar looking to the P. miranda. Except it has a little more darker tinge to their carapace. So it is also the 7 to 8 inch typical arboreal length as your Pokie. And it's a great Pokie to own. So I'll have a look at your specimen, what one looks like. You can definitely tell that it has much more black carapace than the Miranda. The Miranda has, if you saw mine, has a much more lighter one. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about dorsal sexing. It's a little trick that everyone likes to do to try to attempt their Pokie without a ventral shot or their molt. Keep in mind, this is not a very great method to describe your sex of the team. I do personally recommend molt followed by a ventral shot so we can actually see what goes on. So here is what I'm leading to believe a female and a male. So my fasciata, my metallica. So apparently what this Arachnoboards thread is saying, I'll put this in the video description, is that the males will tend to have darker colors. You can see how brown they are. They have smaller chloroceri, the jaws parts are much more smaller than the females. Females are 42, males are 25. And if you note, the outline that surrounds the abdominal pattern is called a folio. It tends to decrease in size compared to the female. So if you want to get a female, try to get one with a white and gray folio, not a dark one, because that's usually a sign of a male. So as you can see, my folio pattern on my metallica is very prominent, so it's likely to be a female. I just have to wait until I get a good intact molt to actually sex it. And this one might actually be a male because it's much more darker colored than most teas. Unless it could be a female, I could be surprised. It would be cool because I never actually had a female fasciata before. Well, not including the one that just died and when I got it, which really sucked. So for recommendations, like I said in the Mythbuster 3 and 19, Pokies are really not meant for beginners. So you do have to understand that Pocothera species are very fast moving. They can be very defensive, and they pack a serious bite. So please do not handle these Pokies because you would not want to get bitten by one. Trust me, I've seen Rob's video on it and it was a pretty bad bite. So for recommendations, if people ask me about these species and say that they have a regalis and what would they rather buy next, well, pretty much any of the Pokies is fine. It's just how much money that you're willing to spend on it. They all have the same care sheet, so really it's up to you. So if you had the money for a P Metallica, buy one. Heck, if you see two, buy two. Try breeding them. Hot sellers Pokies are. So anyways, my battery's dying, so hope you enjoy this awesome Mythbuster video. Thanks for watching.